today we're going to rank every single EX full art from the black and white era. If you want to see me talk about these cards in competitive play, I did a video last week talking about all of the regular EX prints. Today we're going to be talking about the aesthetics, the beautiful full art cards. If you don't know, black and white was actually the first era to introduce full art textured cards to the Pokemon TCG. We saw the first full arts in the early part of the black and white era, just the 9 full art legendary Pokemon, and then with the release of EXs we saw the EX full arts that continued on from Next Destinies all the way to the end of the era, and even further on in X and Y. I'm going to be covering the black and white ones because that's what I covered in the original video, talking about the competitive nature. I know more about black and white than I do X and Y. I played during the entire black and white era, or almost the entire black and white era, where I did not play during most of XY. I didn't miss much, to be honest, from what I know. So today we're going to be ranking all of these. If you love these videos, please do be sure to subscribe to the channel. I upload tier lists every single Tuesday and retro tabletop content every single Friday. There's a chance you may see some of these full arts even appear in my retro tabletop content. So stay tuned to the Whimsicast, subscribe for more. And if you want to do the tier list yourself, it is in the description down below. It will be linked there. You can do it as well and share it around. So starting off, we have Shaman EX Fuller. As per last time, I'm going to do this by set order, so starting with Next Destinies, all the way to Legendary Treasures. Shaman EX Fuller, it's kind of a little bit boring in terms of these. Like, it's not bad at all. These are all CG, so like none of them, well, besides the last 3, they're all CG. So it's not like they're like, you know, ever going to be like, you know, this is like an artistic value thing. But on the bounds of CG, this card is relatively boring in comparison relative to the other EX full arts we'll be talking about today. It's not offensive or anything, it's just kind of mid, you know, C tier. Then we have Reshiram EX full art. This one is a classic, one of the EX full arts I own. To be fair, I own quite a lot of these now that I think about it. This one is really, really sick, has the black flames background, and really, like, black backgrounds, I know they're cliche, I know they're overused, but when you use a black background and you put something bright on top of it, it looks good, and this one looks really, really good. My only, like, major thing that I'll say is that the texturing from the cards pre-Boundaries Cross to the cards late Boundaries Cross, a lot of the texturing on these EXs is definitely weaker than it could have been on these EX full arts. So I think the ones after Boundaries Cross get a little bit of an advantage for that, or ones Boundary Cross and post, right? But it's still a really nice card, A tier, almost S, really high A, could even be S. Then we have Kyurem EX full art. This is the one that my friend group actually pulled when I was younger. I forget who pulled it, it wasn't me. But this is the only one we pulled from Next Destinies at the time. My friend would later go on to pull the Shaman. So unfortunately not really the competitive ones, but still. It is a cool looking card though, just a frozen blue background, pretty well fitting. I will say though, the card, like, it's just like by its very nature of its artwork, like looks a little faded, which has always bothered me. Like, it's not bad at all, it's definitely pretty decent, but I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's just always to me looked like a little faded. If you own it in real life, you know what I mean. Then we have Zekrom. This one's a little bit of a step up. Again, the black background with lightning all over it this time. Really a good contrast. Really cool looking card. The yellow lines are a little bit more standout here, which I'm not a huge fan of on the Zekrom, but it's still really cool. I'm going to put it in A tier. I'm going to put it right here. Not because it's like ranking or anything, but so they can face each other and it looks cool that way. Then we have Mewtwo EX Full Art from Next Destinies. Obviously, this was the big chase card when the set came out. This card was totaling like $80 to $100 when the set came out. Kinda nuts. Is this full art all that it's out to be? It's pretty decent. It's not my absolute favorite one, like some people's is. It's just like kind of a generic background in this case. I don't think it's like the best background they could have done. That's not bad. It's just a little bit not my thing, but still saying that it's still pretty good, so we're gonna put it in B tier. I may get some hate for that, it's just not my absolute favorite. Then we have Reggie Gigas EX Full Art. Reggie Gigas, one of my absolute favorite Pokemon. Does this full art hold up? It's a little bit, again, that faded issue, and it's honestly, like, this one is one of the ones I have the biggest criticism of for, like, having a bland background, because it's just kind of colors here, so I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's not, like, bad, I don't think it's mid, it's still pretty. It just could do better. It's Reggie Gigas after all. Then we have Entei EX Fuller, another fiery background, a little bit less cool of a background this time, and a little bit less cool of a pose. Entei is also just less cool of a Pokemon than Reshiram, fire at me down below. And the pose with it is just not as cool as Reshiram's dynamic, like, flare blazing pose in front of, like, this scorching background. This one's still not bad, though. I'm just going to put it in B tier because I don't feel particularly strongly. It's low B, high C kind of territory. Speaking of the high C's, we have Kyogre here, Lord of the Oceans and the Seas. This one is pretty cool. I actually pulled 2 of this when I was younger. I don't own either anymore. My friend Blake has them nowadays, but it is still a really cool one. The blue background suits it really well. I'd like to get one of these again. Yeah, I'm going to put it in A tier. It's a really, really cool card. Then we have Raikou. This is super sick. It's got a light blue background, and the Raikou's just sitting there staring into your soul. I'm a little bit biased for this one because I did play it a lot on PTCGO back in the day. I had a Raikou deck that I talked about last week. I'm not going to go into the details of that because I'm trying not to get nerdy. I made my last video 10 times the length it needed to be, or 10 times the editing length rather, because I got into the deck nerd stuff. So this one's super cool though, S tier. Honestly, I'm really sad I've never been able to own this in real life. Dark Explorers cards are just unnecessarily expensive. Groudon here. This one is really cool. It has a cracked ground background in the background. That was a lot of ground. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Anyway, this card is really sick. I'm going to put it in A tier. Then we have Darkrai. This one is, I'm a little bit conflicted. Because on one hand, it's really cool, but it honestly looks less cool than the regular EX. Same thing with like the Mewtwo, I'd say. Honestly, the regular EX looks a little bit better. This one's another one where I've seen it in real life, and the texturing's really weak on it. Doesn't really do much for it. I think it's still fine, but it's not like amazing. I want to put it in B tier. It is a card I'd really love to own someday, though. And we have Tornadus, finishing off the Dark Explorers cards. This one has always screamed mid to me, and I think the price reflects that. Tornadus is just not really that cool of a Pokemon. Even as someone who defends Gen 5 to the death, the Genies are not my favorite. Though they're probably the favorite of your local VGC player, either that or the least favorite, depending on what side of the coin they fall on. So, I'm gonna put this in C tier. None of these full arts are bad. This is just like, this is kind of like, it's kind of mid, right? I still think they did a better job than like the, you know, Sun and Moon era full arts, and even a lot of the Sword and Shield ones don't even hold a candle to the good black and white ones. Then we have HoOh EX Fuller. This one shining its rainbow wings with a brilliantly colored background. The HoOh itself could use a little bit of work, but that's not anything to detract from how amazing this card is. S tier. And we have Mew with another really pretty looking background. My biggest criticism of this one actually comes to the fact of the texturing, because the background really should have some better texturing going. If you've seen it in real life, it's just a little bit bland of the texturing. Really doesn't make use of it, but otherwise it'd be S if it wasn't for that, but I'm gonna put it A just because of that, though I can totally understand if you rank this S, though there is another Mew coming up. We'll be talking about that one. Then we have Terrakion. I own this one in real life, as I own a lot of these. I own like the Mew, Reshiram, Zekrom, Reggie Gigas, Mewtwo, Kyurem, and the Terrakion so far, and I own even more of these further down the line. As someone who can own this one, I can safely say it is definitely the worst EX full art of this era. It is very mid. Maybe I'm just not a Terrakion fan. Terrakion to me is not my favorite. Definitely my least favorite of the dogs, unless you count Keldeo as the dog, which I'll definitely say Keldeo is my least favorite of the dogs. But like, even I think back to like Terrakion full art, and Terrakion full art is a gorgeous card, the Noble Victories print, whereas this one is less so. Then we have Reggie Steel EX Full Art. This card is gorgeous. The texturing on full display here. Really a beautiful card, and I think this one's really underrated. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm going to put it in S tier. Then we have Rayquaza. Rayquaza EX Full Art. I'm going to say that this is the best EX Full Art from the pre-Plasma era. Once we get into Plasma era, we start getting some real bangers out here too. This is definitely the best of what we got so far. This card is absolutely S tier. This is one of the coolest cards, like, printed up to that place art-wise. It's so cool. It's CG, but it's amazing. Then we have Giratina. This one's not bad. The biggest problems for me with this card is the background is just kind of a swirl. and that it's in its altered form. Obviously, I'm a bigger fan of the Giratina origin form. That may be not controversial, I suppose. I was going to say it's controversial, but it's probably not. So, like, loses some points there. It's not bad. It's just kind of B tier. Then we have Celebi EX. This is the only one I own in Japanese and English. I do own the Reggie Steel and the Giratina, by the way. Both nice ones to own IRL. The Celebi is really pretty in Japanese and English. I think the texture lets it down a little bit, and the background's not as good as it could be. I think the regular EX is better. I'm going to put it in A tier, but it is still a Celebi card, and it's pretty beautiful. The Japanese one does the texturing better. Then we have Keldeo EX. This one I own, but it's honestly, like, probably one of my least favorite ones. I'm not a big fan of Keldeo as a Pokemon. I'm not a big fan of the full art. It is a playable, very good card. I just like the regular EX better, to be honest, by quite a margin. We have Cresselia EX. Did pull this one back in the day, and thankful to still own it. This one is really cool looking. Has a nice, like, rainbow background. Very fitting of the Cresselia color style here, with, like, the pinks, the blues, and the yellows. Yeah, this one's pretty good. A tier. Then we have Landorus EX Fuller. I got this back in the day. I forget how I got it. I think I traded like 2 Genocide EXs when the set came out for this. I didn't know that was a bad deal at the time because I didn't know Genocide EX was very expensive. But I had a lot of Genocide EXs when I was a kid. I kept pulling them. So this card is pretty neat looking. I do think it's let down a little bit. I think the regular EX Landorus looks better than this. So it's not terrible. It's just like not amazing. B tier. I am excited to use it in the deck though eventually. Then we have Black Kyurem EX and White Kyurem EX. Black Kyurem EX is a little bit boring, especially compared to Zekrom, which has got this dynamic pose. It's just kind of sitting there. You know, he's kind of vibing. C tier. White Kyurem EX is a little bit better. I like this one better. It's got a huge fiery background. He's about to swing at you, going for maybe, I don't know, a Dragon Claw. He's supposed to be a special attacker, but in this case, you know, he's still throwing hands. This one's really good. A tier. Sadly, don't own either of these in real life. Then we have Victini. This is the only one I own that's in, like, perfect condition. It's actually very cheap. The background on it's a little bit boring. I like the Victini full art better, just because the texturing looks a little bit better, but it's still not bad. We don't put it in B tier. Urdakuna. We're full on Plasma, by the way. Victini started the trend, but we're full on Plasma now. Urdakuna was the only one of the 3 birds to get the full art treatment in Plasma Storm, and in fact, there is 4 EXs in the set, the 2 birds and the second Black Kyurem and White Kyurem that didn't get full arts. And those, the second Black Kyurem is actually a legitimately playable card, so kind of a shame it didn't get a full art, because it's a really good card with its Black Ballista. Urdakuna, this full art, it looks like he's dabbing, which is kind of funny. It's very static, though. This is definitely one of the weaker ones, in my opinion. We have Cobalion full art. As someone who loved Cobalion, as someone who played Cobalion, I like the regular card better in this case. The background is kind of boring on the steel type full arts, I'm going to be honest. Besides Reggie Steel. Reggie Steel, that's a nice background. Gonna go with C tier on this one. Then we have Lugia EX Full Art. My god, what can I say about this card? This card with a giant storm in the background with the Plasma Lightning lighting up the field. The Plasma Full Arts are some of the best looking Full Arts in the history of the game. They are so cool. They are so evil and dark looking. I absolutely love this card. It is guaranteed S tier. I'll rank these at the end of the video. Then we have Heatran EX. Of the Plasma Full Arts, this is still the worst one. Or not the worst one, the second worst one. Urdakuna is the worst one. But it's still, you know, it's still a decent looking card. One of my criticisms with this is it's just kind of chilling, not really doing anything. So I'm going to put him in C tier, but like I could understand if you rank this B tier. Then we have Thundurus EX Full Art. This card is pretty cool. He's reaching out towards the camera. Actually still a pretty affordable, relatively full art. I should probably pick up a second one. That way I can have my deck have 2 of them. I sadly don't have Lugia or Urdakuna, I forgot to mention that, so my friend has 2 Lugias. Maybe I'll buy one off him someday. I should pick up a second Thundurus just so I can play the 2 copies. Usually TDK decks use 2 Thundurus, but I'm not going to get too nerdy on you here, so don't worry. This one is pretty cool. He's reaching out towards the camera, about to use his right knuckle on you to do 270 damage and accelerate energy from this route. It's pretty cool. A tier. Here's one that I really like. We have Deoxys EX. This is one I traded for back in the day. I forget exactly what I traded for it. I feel like I traded a regular Landorus EX and something else for it. Regardless, this card is absolutely sick. I don't think it's as good as Lugia, but it is still an S tier card. Really, really cool looking, and I'm glad to own this one as well. Then we have Latias EX Fuller, Latias EX Fuller with the red background. I'm a little biased. I really like Latias. This really brings out the cuteness factor in Latias, and it's one of my favorite full arts of all time. Gonna put it in S tier. Then we have Latios. This one is not terrible. It's just kind of boring in comparison to Latias, which pulls off its cute factor completely. Latios doesn't really pull its cool factor here. So C tier. Background's not bad, at least. Then we have Tornadus EX Full Art. This is definitely one of the less cool plasma ones, but it's still not terrible. I'm going to put it in B tier. I'm going to move Heatran up too. I feel like we can move Entei down and move Heatran up. This feels more aligned because these are like the dark plasma ones and they look very good. Then we have Verizon EX Full Art. Verizon Genocide, obviously a deck I played a lot back in the day, a deck I still have completed today. But if you know anything about me, you may not know this, I don't know if I'll mention on the channel, I actually like regular Verizon EX more than the Full Art. That said, the Full Art's not bad, it's just B tier. Then we have Genocide EX. This card is so sick, man. This card is one of the best looking full arts of all time. I absolutely love this card. It is going in S tier, unquestionably my favorite full art of the era. Then we have Jirachi. Despite playing this card a ton, I've played thousands of games in my life with this card. I think the background on this full art and the full art itself is kind of boring. I can't give it like D tier because it's not like bad. To be fair, nothing in D tier is like bad, it's just kind of meh. But it is kind of mid for a full art. Did pull this from my Plasma Blast box back in the day. That box was insane, by the way. I opened my main two products. I opened up a Plasma Blast, other than single packs, where I opened up an Elite Trainer box in which I pulled a full art Verizon, a regular Verizon, and a G booster. And then I pulled a boost. Opened the booster box and I pulled another Verizon full art, a Jirachi full art, and a secret rare candy from one box. Like, that is unheard of back in the day. Crazy. I wish I still had the video. My friend took a video back in the day of us opening it. I don't have it anymore. Then we have Dialga EX Full Art. I'm not going to get on the Dialga meme train here like I was last video, but I did play this as a meme. And this is a nice full art. It is really, really nice. A tier. What I do have to give the edge here, though, usually Dialga's got my heart, but this Palkia full art is absolutely incredible. If you've seen this in real life, it is one of the best looking full arts of all time. S tier. Then we have the 3 Legendary Collection ones. Unlike the previous EX Full Arts we've been talking about, these are actually illustrated by artists, so they get a bit more love and care put into them. That said, how do they rank among these? Shaman is definitely better than regular Shaman, I will say that. It is a Kaneko AO print. How does it rank? I think it's S tier. Mew EX Full Art from the Radiant Collection. This card, drawn by HoOh, is really, really cool looking. S tier as well. This is just a really, really pretty card. Really good way to do Mew. And I don't remember who illustrated Meloetta, but it's also really good. This one, I will say, though, I like the regular EX better. And, you know, it sounds like a bit of an insult, but if you've seen the regular EX actually looks really, really good. It's probably the best looking EX, regular EX. This one is still pretty good, though. Gonna put it in A tier. That is our tier list. Let's rank these real quick. Gonna rank the S tier. Genocide is still my favorite. This card is so good. And I think I can safely hold on with Latias being second and Rayquaza being third. These cards are just absolutely legendary, and they meet everything a full art should be. I think we will put Palkia in 4th. That seems about right. Lugia in 5th. Reggie Steel in 6th. HoOh in 7th. Deoxys in 8th. And then, actually, I forgot about Mew. I think we'll put Mew right here. That's fine. Yeah, this seems, we'll rank it like this. This seems fine for the top tier. That is our tier list of the EX Full Art from the Black and White era. I don't plan on covering the EXs from the X and Y era just because I haven't gotten a chance to play with all of them, so I wouldn't have the same relations as I would with these cards. If you do enjoy these tier list videos, once again, please be sure to subscribe. And I have retro tabletop content where you might see full arts such as Genocide or Rayquaza, which I do have decks built around for the upcoming retro tabletop gameplay videos. Stay tuned to the Whimscast, and I'll see you in the next one.